Secretary General Bernadette Lewis, the SG of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, and a great friend. My great friend and pastor friend, Cleveland Thomas, the ITU ambassador to the Caribbean region. I call him my spiritual friend because he's a pastor. Shannon Osepa, Manager, Regional Affairs, Latin America and Caribbean Bureau for ISOC. Glenn McKnight, member of the Board of Directors of ISOC. Albert Daniels, also one of my friends from ICANN. And I cannot but also recognize the chairperson, Dev Anand, and of course, Tracy. Let me, at the outset, express my profound appreciation to the organizers of this second Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum, taking place here today, for having invited me to deliver the keynote address for this important gathering. When Tracy Hackshaw cornered me in Geneva last month to deliver this speech, I did not hesitate to signify my acceptance for a number of reasons. Firstly, I have been very encouraged, not only by the steps which the stakeholders of this country have taken in their effective participation at the international community on matters dealing with the growth of the internet for development, but also actions being taken by the governments, by successive government of this country to improve the development of ICT in Trinidad. Secondly, I acknowledge that in spite of the work done here, much work needs to be done, and I felt it was imperative for me to share my thoughts as input to the process of ICT development in this country. Thirdly, Trinidad and Tobago is one of the very active members of the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization, the CTO, and very supportive of the CTO's strategic plan, which has 6 main pillars, namely the enhancement of membership to the CTO, promoting good regulatory environment, ensuring that countries of the region of the Commonwealth have cybersecurity frameworks which addresses all the challenges we have today, universal access to all the peoples of the Commonwealth, about 2.2 billion, 60% of which are youths, ICT applications for the growth of our economies, and having Commonwealth coordination at international fora. Trinidad and Tobago currently occupies the position of chair of the CTO, and is represented by Gilbert Patterson, who also doubles as the chairperson of TAT, and I'm sure you're all familiar with TAT. Finally, one of the reasons why I'm here is that I don't think any CTO staff based in the UK will hesitate to come here on mission when that opportunity arises. So for us at the CTO, Trinidad is one of the places, like no other place, where work and fun comes naturally together. Between enjoying the nightlife in Ariapita Avenue, spending the afternoon on a sunny day in Maracas Bay, visiting plantations further up inland after usually long days of work, there's enough in Port of Spain and beyond to appeal to anyone's taste. So it's good to be here, particularly at the beginning of the Caribbean Carnival. And when I was coming, I did tell my family I was going to come to Trinidad, and I said it's the beginning of Carnival, so there was a little fight. My daughter wanted to come with me, my son wanted to come with me, and my wife kept quiet. I said, who do you prefer, me or your children? I said, it's you. That's why she's here. Thank you. The theme you have chosen for this forum, Shaping Your Agenda, Shaping Your Digital Future, is timely and is of paramount importance not only to Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, but also the Commonwealth. My keynote address will focus on just 5 areas. 1, just to talk about the theme. Secondly, to talk about the role of the Commonwealth in ICT. 3, to look at the status of ICT in Trinidad. 4thly, to look at the main issues which we have gathered here to discuss, and to then highlight some of the prerequisites that need to be undertaking to ensure that we get to the promised land. As you're all aware, the Commonwealth countries present a unique set of the world's countries, including rich and poor countries, large and small. The tremendous strength that we have over 100 years of existence. We're about 117 years old this year. Significantly, unlike regional organizations, our membership includes countries from every continent of the world, whether in Africa, in Europe, in the Caribbean, in Asia, and the Pacific. Gaining consensus on key issues relating to ICTs and telecommunications among Commonwealth countries can therefore play a critically important role in fostering wider international engagements. 3 years ago, the CTO convened the Commonwealth ICT Ministers meeting in London, and that was their first biennial meeting, and this cuts across all the Commonwealth countries. At that meeting, the ministers took a number of important decisions, including the adoption of the Commonwealth Cyber Governance Model, a document that maps out the 4 key principles that guide how we relate to cyberspace as nations. These 4 principles are based on the values and aspirations enshrined in the Commonwealth Charter, the founding document of the Commonwealth. These are as follows. 1, we contribute to a safe and an effective global cyberspace. 2, our actions in cyberspace support broader economic and social development. 3, we act individually and collectively to tackle cybercrime. And 4, we each exercise our rights and meet our responsibilities in cyberspace. So the CTO identifies very easily with the very distinct but particularly important issues that this forum will address today. Let's just take a look at briefly the situation that we have in this country. The ICT challenges which have been outlined within the Trinidad and Tobago's National ICT Plan for 2017 to 2021 includes 3 or 4 issues. 1, skills. Although ICT penetration remains high, particularly among citizens and governments, Trinidad and Tobago lags behind advanced nations in the productive and innovative use of the ICTs. Uptake. There currently exists limited awareness of e-services and the benefits of using these services. Furthermore, users have a poor perception of e-services, which negatively impact engagement with such services. Environment. Trinidad and Tobago lacks the robust legal and regulatory framework required for e-business, e-commerce, and e-services, as the Electronic Transactions Act and the Data Protection Act have only been partially proclaimed, and key regulations under those acts have not been passed. This is a call for action. There's a need, therefore, to enhance collaboration to plan, design, procure, and share common ICT applications to reduce cost, to create standardization across governments, and further enable efficiency gains through ICTs. Advancing environmental and societal benefits is also a key point. Now, we have at the CTO been involved in collaborating with the Caribbean countries. Just 2 months ago, here in November, with funding from the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, we conducted an important cyber standard workshop where we invited about 40 small and medium enterprises to come and learn about how we can apply cyber standards to those small countries, to those small entities. And the reason is that a lot of these small entities which actually provide majority or the most part of the GDP in this country cannot afford to follow the international standards 27,000. And therefore, we felt there was a need to enable them to adopt standards which can easily be applied to their systems. During that period, we also organized what we call the Human Resource and ICT Forum, here also in Port of Spain, and we did examine the unique human resource needs of the ICT sector to imagine challenges and potential resolutions, as well as the role of ICTs in human resource management. Let me take this opportunity to thank the CTU for collaborating with us at that event, and Nigel, my friend, who was a speaker during that particular event. During that period also, we conducted a widely publicized consultation on what we call over-the-top services, services such as WhatsApp, Viber, Facebook, because they transformed the way we use the internet, and partly because our ministers gave us a mandate to carry out this study. And I'm pleased to inform you that in June, 18th June 2018, we shall be publishing this report, which our ministers will be adopting in June when they meet in the UK. Now, if we take the three main issues which I've seen on the program, one is digital financial services, second is blockchain, and the third is online gender activism. Let me just address these three issues very briefly. Financial inclusion, and particularly the historic challenge of the limited access to banking and financial services, has been a significant obstacle to economic development globally. Over the past decade or so, we have seen emerging bottom-up applications in areas such as remittances and other microfinance services. Prior to that, virtual banking began to emerge, thanks largely also to digital technology, innovations, and the internet. Addressing issues around the unbanked, access to lending as well as investment, and the emerging market forces around financial services, including the emerging role of telecom operators and fintech innovation, force us into conversations of the kind we have in this forum, and we hope that will facilitate better understanding. So I look forward to the discussion on digital financial services later on. Beyond digital financial services, we're also increasingly dependent on other forms of digitalized records and access, as well as assets, thanks to the use and the rise of blockchain technology. Whether we like it or not, securing land registration using blockchain technology, as it is now done in many countries like Georgia, or using smart contracts, or dealing with the regulatory needs around cryptocurrencies, all bring challenges we need to address as comprehensively as possible. Now, in terms of blockchain technology, it has the potential to empower users, make transactions faster and cheaper, and have data which is complete, consistent, and accurate. There are, however, challenges relating to technology in terms of regulation, and this is just one area where technology develops at a pace where policymakers cannot keep up. And yes, for all the social and economic challenges the internet brings us, it also brings with it many opportunities beyond the obvious technological applications that are now possible. One such opportunity is a new voice it gives to the promotion of human rights, and particularly to gender activism online. Thanks to the internet, many countries and communities are beginning to overcome deep-rooted taboos. Take the obvious issue of violence or harassment against women, which have been widely publicized in news media, not fake news. We begin to see more action by governments and legislators around the world, and the women communities who want to fight and make sure the environment is safe for all. While the CTO has done a lot of work, I must confess that we have not been active on gender activism. And therefore, I look forward to learning from your discussion on this issue, which is very important. Having said this, let me just confirm that the journey to the digital future is not only individual, but it has to be collective. Coordinated, multi-sectoral strategies are required by countries, which must consider a range of issues and factors, including investment and privacy. Next month, in Gibraltar, the CTO will be organizing the first data forum, which will address significantly the issues around privacy, data protection, and we do invite you to participate at that particular event. Finally, let me now highlight a few issues which are central to address the issues before us today. One is the new technologies and the need for policy and regulatory action. New technologies play a fundamental role in all aspects of our daily lives, from education to transport and healthcare. ICTs also have a role to play in promoting gender equality through enabling political participation. in reducing energy consumption and contributing to the efforts to tackle climate change, in increasing food production by encouraging farmers to use ICTs, and other areas such as disaster risk reduction through early warning and strengthening connectivity. Technology cannot be developed in isolation from policymakers and regulations. And therefore, it's also important that policy and regulators are fully aware of technological trends and then map out options to enable these technologies to grow. Policymakers and regulators cannot sit idle whilst these new technologies provide various challenges to us. How do we address the issue of OTTs, for example? Should they be regulated? And if so, should it be light regulation, and what type of light regulation? Modernize policies and regulations that protect the interests of the end users and investors, and also attract investments and support the ease of doing business are important prerequisites for creating a vibrant ICT industry in Trinidad. Competitive digital economies require government to create the enabling conditions, the laws and frameworks, including for machine-to-machine communications. Secondly, cyberspace. In recognition that cyberspace has opened new dimensions in entrepreneurship and innovation and facilitated interactions between peoples, and that cybersecurity can contribute to economic prosperity, the CTO Council last September in Maputo adopted a resolution which encourages the heads of states of the Commonwealth meeting in April 2018 to ensure that they have cybersecurity as one of their top agenda items. And I really want to thank Bernadette Lewis, who went to the Bahamas and assisted us to put this on the agenda of the Caribbean ICT ministers, and I understand they all supported that resolution. So we hope that the government here will participate actively on the road to the CHOGM in April in the UK, and we hope that they will play a leading role, at least among the Caribbean countries, at that particular event. What we want to achieve with the heads of states is to ensure that the Commonwealth ICT heads make sure that they place cybersecurity on top of their agenda. Thirdly, development of ICT skills. I really, every time I come to Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in the Caribbean, I always congratulate the women in this region, because from all statistics, they've done better than the men, as at yesterday. And I hope the men will catch up one day. Congratulations to the women of the Caribbean for the good things you're doing. ICT skills are now necessary for almost all forms of employment. Therefore, there's a need to prioritize ICT capacity building and enable creativity, particularly amongst youths. Youths have a particular interest and ability with regard to modern technology, and this should be leveraged as much as possible, particularly as a means to achieving the goals of the Sustainable Development Agenda. Fourthly, ICT applications. One example of the positive impact of technology on sustainable development is in the agricultural sector. In recent years, there has been increasing penetration by mobile phones in value chain segments, which are being adopted by farmers and other stakeholders. The use of drones in agriculture is also being embraced. Entrepreneurship in the sector using technologies is also an emerging trend. Initiatives such as this can be useful for this country to boost its agricultural sector by enabling increased productivity, profitability, and employment opportunities. Finally, stakeholder participation. We can't emphasize the importance of ensuring that everyone in this country is part of the discussion in ensuring that ICT development is on the high priority for Trinidad and Tobago. Citizen inclusion is vital to e-government frameworks. There's a need for accessibility, accountability, and trust between users and government services. The multi-stakeholder platform, which is offered by the IGF, as well as other organizations such as ICANN, with whom we collaborate a lot, are great mechanisms for promoting communication and collaboration amongst various stakeholder groups. It's therefore important that developing countries such as Trinidad and Tobago continues to participate in these global platforms to ensure that there is a contribution to global policy development as this impacts upon national policies. I must say that in the last 3 ICANN and GAC meetings that I've attended, I must commend Trinidad and Tobago for having a relatively large, multidimensional, multicultural delegation, and they're all excited all the time. And last time I felt I should socialize with them, and that resulted in me coming here. So I really thank Tracy and your team, very wonderful team. Finally, let me thank you for having allowed me to share these thoughts, and I will assure you that the CTO will continue to support the efforts of Trinidad and Tobago in all its efforts to build ICT development in this country. We will also continue to collaborate with our partners, the ITU, the CTU in particular, being the main organization that's responsible for development of ICT in this region, as well as CARICOM and other organizations. I wish that I've been able to provide you with a few thoughts, and I really want to thank you for listening to me. I traveled here, it's about 11 hours, and I thank you for listening to me because I need to justify why I came here, spending 11 hours. Thank you very much.